Welcome back to the Metabolic Revolution podcast. I'm Dr. Steve Presciutti, and I have to tell you, this is a very special episode. This is Season 2, Episode 6, the final episode in our 6-week epigenetics deep dive, and I'm feeling a lot of emotions right now. This has been the most ambitious series we've ever done. 6 weeks of science, stories, and protocols designed to change the way you think about your body, your genes, and your health. Before we get into today's content, let me remind you that this podcast is educational content only. It's not medical advice. Always work with a qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your health routine. Now, let me take you on a quick journey through where we've been. In Season 2, Episode 1, we dropped the bomb. Genes aren't destiny. It's a 25 to 75 split. Your DNA is the hardware, but your epigenetics is the software. And that software is rewritable every single day. In Season 2, Episode 2, we learned that food is code. Every bite you eat sends instructions to your genes through methyl donors and epigenetic signals. In Season 2, Episode 3, we expanded to environment. Light, temperature, toxins. All of them are writing code to your DNA in real time. Season 2, Episode 4 was the one that made a lot of you cry. Your grandmother's diet, the Dutch hunger winter, transgenerational inheritance. The idea that patterns of disease can be passed down through generations. And then last week, Season 2, Episode 5, we talked about sleep as the foundation of all epigenetic repair, and how your DNA literally fixes itself at night. That's 5 weeks of building a framework. 5 weeks of showing you all the different inputs that control your gene expression. But there's one thing we haven't talked about yet. One input that affects every single epigenetic pathway we've covered. And it might be the most powerful of all. Stress. By the end of today's episode, you're going to have the complete epigenetic reset protocol, pulling together everything from all 6 weeks into a single, actionable plan that you can start today. So let's talk about what the mainstream medical establishment tells you about stress. They tell you to manage it, download a meditation app, try yoga, do some deep breathing, maybe see a therapist. And look, I'm not against any of those things. Meditation is great, yoga is great, therapy can be life-changing. But here's the problem. Mainstream medicine treats stress as a psychological problem. They treat it like it's all in your head, like if you could just think differently, breathe differently, relax more, your stress would go away. And that is dead wrong. Because stress isn't just what you feel. Stress is what your cells experience. And I need to tell you about a client named Diane because she's the perfect example of this disconnect. Diane was a 38-year-old marketing executive who came to me completely burned out. She'd been to her doctor, she'd been to a therapist, she'd been to a functional medicine practitioner. She was meditating 20 minutes every morning. She was doing yoga 3 times a week. She was taking ashwagandha, magnesium, L-theanine, CBD oil, the whole stress management toolkit, and she was still declining. Her hair was falling out. Her period had become irregular. She'd gained 15 pounds in 6 months despite eating clean. Her body temperature was 96.8 degrees Fahrenheit. Her doctor ran labs, said everything was normal, and suggested antidepressants. But when I looked at what was actually happening in her life, the picture was completely different. Diane was eating 1,200 calories a day because she thought she needed to lose weight. She was doing intense spin classes 4 mornings a week. She was taking fish oil capsules twice a day because her doctor said they were anti-inflammatory. She was sleeping 5 to 6 hours a night because she was so busy. Her body was under metabolic stress. Her cells were starving for energy. Her mitochondria were being poisoned by polyunsaturated fats. Her cortisol was chronically elevated, not because of her job, not because of her thoughts, but because her body was fighting for survival. No amount of meditation was going to fix that. No amount of deep breathing was going to convince her cells that everything was fine when she was literally underfueling them. The problem wasn't psychological stress. The problem was biochemical stress. And that distinction changes everything. Let me explain what's actually happening at the cellular level when you're stressed, because this is where stress epigenetics gets real. Ray Peat, the biologist whose work has been foundational to everything we teach at BioSpark Health, explained it clearly. Stress activates endonucleases, enzymes that literally cut your DNA chains. Let me say that again. Stress doesn't just make you feel bad. Stress activates enzymes that physically damage your DNA. It increases genetic instability at the molecular level. Think about what that means. Every time your cortisol spikes, every time your body enters that fight or flight state, there are enzymes inside your cells that are slicing through your genetic material like scissors through ribbon. This isn't metaphor. This is molecular biology. When cortisol floods your system, it blocks glucose metabolism in your cells. Your cells need glucose for energy production. They need it to make ATP, the energy currency that drives everything, from DNA repair to methylation to protein synthesis. Cortisol prevents them from using glucose efficiently. The result is something called excitotoxicity, where cells become overexcited because they can't produce enough energy to maintain their normal function. They're firing, but they can't recover. They're running, but they can't refuel. This leads to the death of nerve cells and immune cells. Your brain cells die. Your immune cells die. Not from a virus, not from a toxin, from stress hormones that your own body produced because it perceived a threat. Now here's where the stress epigenetics connection becomes devastating. Glucocorticoids, and cortisol is the primary glucocorticoid in humans, regulate up to 20% of the expressed genome. Think about that number. One hormone, one stress hormone, has the ability to influence the expression of 1/5 of all your active genes. Research on patients with Cushing's syndrome, a condition where cortisol is chronically elevated, shows something terrifying. These patients develop specific DNA methylation changes and histone modifications from their prolonged cortisol exposure. But here's the part that should get your attention. Some of those epigenetic changes persist even after cortisol levels normalize. Even after the stressor is removed, the genetic damage remains written into the code. Jay Feldman, whose podcast Energy Balance has done incredible work translating this science, puts it this way. When energy production is insufficient, the whole body shifts in terms of gene expression and metabolism. Cortisol causes mitochondrial dysfunction directly. It damages the very organelles that produce energy for your cells. And when your mitochondria can't produce enough energy, your entire body enters a survival state. Gene expression shifts from growth, repair, and reproduction toward conservation, inflammation, and disease. And here's the critical insight that ties this whole series together. The body's stress response is the same pathway, whether the trigger is emotional stress from a bad relationship, metabolic stress from not eating enough calories, exercise stress from doing too much HIIT, or nutritional stress from consuming polyunsaturated fatty acids that poison your mitochondria. Your cells don't distinguish between these sources. They just know they're under attack. It's the same cortisol, the same pathway, the same epigenetic damage. Your body doesn't care why you're stressed. It responds the same way to all of it. Ray Peat also showed that cortisone causes muscle catabolism, breaking down your own muscle tissue. This releases the amino acid cysteine, which directly suppresses thyroid function. At the same time, the free fatty acids mobilized by stress hormones block efficient glucose utilization in your cells, creating what amounts to a diabetes-like condition. Your cells are surrounded by fuel they can't use, so they signal for more cortisol, which causes more damage, which causes more stress. It's a vicious cycle, and it's written directly into your epigenetic code with every turn of that cycle. Let me tell you about Maria, because her story is the one I want every listener to hear. Maria was a 41-year-old elementary school teacher who came to me after 3 years of declining health. She was exhausted. Her hair was thinning so badly, she'd started wearing hats to work. She'd gained 30 pounds. Her brain fog was so severe, she was making mistakes in the classroom, something that had never happened in 18 years of teaching. She was anxious all the time, waking up at 3 a.m. with her heart racing. Her body temperature was 96.6 degrees Fahrenheit. And here's what kills me. Maria thought she was doing everything right. She meditated every morning for 15 minutes. She did yoga twice a week. She took a handful of supplements her naturopath recommended. She ate clean, which in her case meant about 1,400 calories per day of salads, grilled chicken, and smoothies. She did HIIT workouts 5 mornings a week because her trainer told her it was the best way to lose weight. She took fish oil capsules because her doctor said her inflammation markers were high. She slept 5 to 6 hours a night because she had to wake up at 5 a.m. for her workouts and couldn't fall asleep before 11 p.m. From the outside, Maria looked like someone who had her health figured out. From the inside, her body was screaming for help. Every single thing she was doing, except the meditation and yoga, was driving metabolic stress. 1,400 calories for a 41-year-old active woman is starvation. Her body was in famine mode. 5 HIIT sessions per week was triggering massive cortisol spikes, telling her body it needed to run from a predator 5 days out of 7. Fish oil was flooding her cells with polyunsaturated fats that were poisoning her mitochondria and blocking energy production. And 5 to 6 hours of sleep meant her DNA couldn't repair itself at night, as we covered in Season 2, Episode 5. Her cortisol was chronically elevated, not because she was psychologically stressed, although the anxiety certainly didn't help, but because her metabolism was under siege. Her stress epigenetics profile was a disaster. We changed everything. We stopped the HIIT immediately, replaced it with 30 to 45 minutes of walking every day. We increased her calories to 2,400, emphasizing fruits, raw honey, dairy, orange juice, and saturated fats from butter and coconut oil. We eliminated all polyunsaturated fat sources, the fish oil, the seed oil salad dressings, the heart-healthy cooking oils. We made sleep non-negotiable, 8 hours minimum in a completely dark room. Here's the timeline. By week 2, Maria's hands warmed up. She told me she hadn't had warm hands in years. Her anxiety decreased noticeably. She stopped waking up at 3 a.m. By week 6, her temperature had climbed to 97.6 degrees. Her hair stopped falling out. She was sleeping through the night. By month 3, her temperature hit 98.0 degrees. She had lost 12 pounds without trying, without counting a single calorie after we set her initial intake. Her brain fog was completely gone. Her period came back after being absent for 4 months. Her doctor ran new labs and was stunned. Her inflammatory markers had dropped. Her thyroid numbers had improved. Her fasting insulin had normalized. He asked her what medication she'd started. She told him she'd started eating more and exercising less. He didn't believe her. I see this pattern every single week in my practice. The stress isn't what you think it is. The stress that's rewriting your genes isn't your job, your relationship, or your mortgage payment. The stress that's doing the real damage is metabolic. It's not eating enough. It's exercising too much. It's consuming the wrong fats. It's not sleeping. And until you fix those inputs, no meditation app on the planet is going to change your stress epigenetics. Now I want to connect everything we've talked about over these 6 weeks, because this is the integration moment. This is where it all comes together. Think back to Season 2, Episode 1. We learned the 25/75 split. Your genes are only 25% of the equation. The other 75% is your epigenetic software, controlled by your inputs. Stress is the single biggest negative lever on that 75%. When cortisol is chronically elevated, it doesn't just affect one pathway, it affects all of them. It's rewriting your software in every direction toward disease, inflammation, and dysfunction. Think back to Season 2, Episode 2. Food is code. Every bite sends instructions to your genes. But here's what we didn't fully explore then. Cortisol changes how those instructions are read. When you're under metabolic stress, your body interprets food signals differently. The methyl donors from your folate and B12 can't do their job properly when cortisol is blocking energy production, because methylation requires ATP. You can eat the most nutrient-dense diet in the world, But if your cortisol is through the roof because you're undereating total calories, those nutrients can't be utilized. Undereating is a stress signal. Every day you eat below your metabolic needs, your body reads that as famine, and famine triggers cortisol, and cortisol rewrites your genes. Think back to Season 2, Episode 3. Environment is code. Artificial light at night, temperature extremes, toxin exposure, all of these are stressors that trigger the same cortisol pathway we've been discussing today. Cold exposure, which has become so trendy in the biohacking world, is a stress signal. It elevates cortisol. It diverts energy from repair to heat generation. For someone who's already metabolically stressed, cold plunges and ice baths are pouring gasoline on a fire. The same cortisol pathway, the same epigenetic damage. Think back to Season 2, Episode 4, the one about your grandmother's diet. Here's what makes this so important. Stress-induced epigenetic changes are transgenerational. They get passed down. Your grandmother's wartime stress, your mother's chronic dieting, your father's overwork and undereating. These created epigenetic patterns that you inherited. The cortisol-driven methylation changes in their genes were written into the code that was passed to you. But here's the hope, and this is crucial. You can break those patterns. You can override inherited stress epigenetics by removing the stressors and supporting your metabolism. You are not doomed by your ancestors' stress. Think back to Season 2, Episode 5. Sleep is when repair happens. Cortisol is supposed to drop at night, allowing melatonin to rise and DNA repair mechanisms to activate. But chronic stress keeps cortisol elevated at night. This disrupts sleep, and poor sleep causes more stress, more cortisol, more epigenetic damage. It is the most vicious cycle in stress epigenetics. You can't sleep because you're stressed. You're stressed because you can't sleep. And every night that cycle continues, your DNA accumulates more damage that doesn't get repaired. As Ray Peat explained, progesterone blocks the catabolic actions of glucocorticoids. It protects all tissues against cortisol damage. Progesterone's metabolites, particularly its GABA-related compounds, promote proper cellular respiration and help regulate gene expression toward health rather than survival. This is why so many women see their health collapse when progesterone drops, whether from chronic stress, perimenopause, or the metabolic dysfunction that suppresses progesterone production. The protective buffer against cortisol's epigenetic damage disappears. Every week of this series was teaching you about a different input to the same epigenetic system. Food, environment, generational patterns, sleep, and now stress. And stress touches all of them. It amplifies every negative input and blocks every positive one. That's why this is the finale. Because stress is the master switch. If you only remember one thing from this entire 6-week series, remember this. Every health intervention you attempt will be undermined if your body is under chronic metabolic stress. You can eat perfectly and still be sick. You can sleep in a cave and still be inflamed. You can take every supplement on the shelf and still decline. If the stress isn't addressed, if your body doesn't feel safe, your epigenetic software stays locked in survival mode. So let's build the complete epigenetic reset protocol. Everything I'm about to share pulls from all 6 weeks of this series. This isn't a quick fix. This is a comprehensive approach to resetting your gene expression by removing the inputs that cause damage and providing the inputs that support repair. Let's start with food, because this is the foundation of everything. You have to eat enough. I cannot stress this enough, and I say it to every single client who walks through my door. For most women, that means 2,300 to 2,800 calories per day. For most men, that means 2,800 to 3,500 calories per day. If those numbers shock you, good. It means you've been undereating and your genes know it. Your food should emphasize ripe fruits, raw honey, fresh squeezed orange juice, dairy from well-raised animals, and saturated fats from butter, coconut oil, and cocoa butter. Eliminate polyunsaturated fats. Get rid of the seed oils, the fish oil capsules, the heart-healthy vegetable oils. These poison your mitochondria and block the energy production your cells need for proper gene expression. This is what we covered in Season 2, Episode 2. Food is code. Write good code. Now let's talk about your environment. Morning sunlight within 30 minutes of waking every single day. This sets your circadian clock, establishes your cortisol rhythm, and programs melatonin production for that evening. At night, reduce artificial light dramatically. Dim your lights after sunset. No screens for 2 to 3 hours before bed. Blue light blocking glasses if you absolutely must be on a device. Keep your living space warm. Your body interprets cold as a threat, as a stressor. Warmth signals safety. Minimize toxin exposure where you can. Filter your water. Choose organic when possible. Avoid plastics. These environmental inputs are writing code to your genes every second, as we covered in Season 2, Episode 3. Movement is next, and this one is going to be hard for some of you to hear. If you are metabolically stressed, if your body temperature is below 97.8, if your hair is falling out, if your period is irregular, if you can't sleep, stop the chronic cardio, stop the HIIT, stop the intense boot camps. I know your trainer disagrees. I know Instagram tells you to push harder. I know everything in our culture says more exercise is always better. It's not. Walk. Walk for 30 to 45 minutes a day. Do gentle movement, stretching, light resistance training if you feel up to it. Let your body feel safe. Exercise is supposed to be a positive stress signal that your body recovers from and adapts to. But when your body is already in survival mode, intense exercise is just more cortisol, more damage, more epigenetic destruction. I had another client, Kevin, 35 years old, who was doing CrossFit 6 days a week and eating 1,800 calories because he wanted to lean out. His body temperature was 96.9 degrees. His testosterone was tanking. His joints hurt constantly. His doctor said it was just aging at 35. We pulled him out of CrossFit completely. He walked and did light bodyweight movements for 3 months while eating 3,200 calories a day. His temperature hit 98.2. His testosterone doubled. His joint pain disappeared. He went back to training hard eventually, but only after his metabolism could support it. You have to earn the right to exercise hard, and you earn it by fixing your metabolism first. Sleep is non-negotiable. 8 hours minimum. Complete darkness, consistent bedtime and wake time every single day, including weekends, no screens before bed. This is when your DNA repairs itself. This is when melatonin activates your epigenetic repair pathways. This is the foundation everything else builds on, as we covered in depth in Season 2, Episode 5. You cannot supplement your way out of poor sleep. You cannot out-train poor sleep. You cannot meditate your way past poor sleep. Sleep first, everything else second. And then there's the stress reset itself. Number 1 is eating enough, because undereating is the most common metabolic stressor I see. Number 2 is maintaining your body temperature by providing enough fuel, enough saturated fat, enough carbohydrates. Number 3 is reducing unnecessary stressors, and I mean the metabolic ones. Stop the extreme exercise, stop the cold exposure, stop the fasting, stop the calorie restriction. Number 4 is supporting the hormonal systems that protect against cortisol damage, particularly thyroid and progesterone. When your metabolism is properly fueled, these systems recover on their own. The timeline for this reset varies, but I'll give you what I typically see. Within days, your hands warm up, your sleep improves, your anxiety decreases. Within weeks, your body temperature rises, your energy returns, your digestion improves. Within months, your labs normalize, your symptoms resolve, your hair grows back, your cycle returns. Gene expression shifts measurably within 4 to 8 weeks. Full epigenetic normalization may take 6 to 12 months, but you will feel the difference long before your genes have fully reset. If you want a structured framework for implementing all of this, our Energy Reset Essentials mini course gives you the complete protocol for $39. If you want ongoing support and monthly coaching calls, The Bioenergetic Reset Program is $133 per month. And if you want a fully personalized protocol built around your labs, your symptoms, and your specific situation, we offer one-on-one coaching. You can find all of that at biosparkhealth.com. Now let me address some of the questions I get asked most often about stress and epigenetics. People ask me all the time whether stress can actually change your DNA, and the answer is absolutely yes. Cortisol causes direct DNA methylation changes and histone modifications that alter gene expression. Beyond that, stress activates endonucleases that physically cut DNA strands. This isn't theoretical. This is measured, documented, published science. Stress doesn't just make you feel bad. It structurally damages your genetic material and reprograms how your genes are expressed. The next question I hear constantly is whether you can reverse that damage, and the answer is yes, with a caveat. Studies on Cushing's syndrome patients show that some cortisol-driven methylation changes persist even after cortisol normalizes. So there may be some permanent marks. But the vast majority of stress-induced epigenetic changes are reversible when you remove the stressor and support your metabolism. I've seen it in hundreds of clients. The body wants to heal. You just have to give it the right conditions. People also ask me if meditation is enough to fix stress-related gene changes. And I love this question because it gets right at the heart of the mainstream misunderstanding. If you're undereating and overexercising, if you're consuming PUFAs and sleeping 5 hours a night, meditation is not going to fix your stress epigenetics. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. Fix the metabolic inputs first. Eat enough, sleep enough, stop poisoning your mitochondria. Then add meditation on top as an additional support. Meditation is a good tool. It's just not sufficient when the stress is biochemical, not psychological. Another big question is whether trauma can be inherited through epigenetics, and we covered this extensively in Season 2, Episode 4. Transgenerational epigenetic inheritance is real. The Dutch hunger winter studies proved it beyond doubt. Your grandmother's stress, your mother's chronic dieting, these experiences created epigenetic patterns that were passed to you. But you are not a prisoner of those patterns. You can override inherited stress epigenetics by providing your body with the conditions it needs to rewrite the code. That's the whole point of this series. Finally, people want to know how long it takes to reverse cortisol-driven gene changes. Most people see measurable improvement in 4 to 8 weeks when they commit to the complete protocol. Body temperature rises, sleep improves, energy returns, labs start normalizing. Full epigenetic normalization, the deep resetting of methylation patterns and histone modifications, may take 6 to 12 months. But here's what I tell every client. You didn't accumulate this damage overnight, and it won't resolve overnight, but it will resolve. The body is designed to heal. You just have to stop interfering with the process. This has been the most important series we've ever done on this podcast. I want you to understand what we've built over these 6 weeks. We started with a simple idea. Genes aren't destiny. 25% hardware, 75% software. And then we spent 5 weeks showing you exactly what writes that software. Food writes your epigenetic code. Every nutrient, every calorie, every bite is an instruction to your genes. Your environment writes your epigenetic code. Light, temperature, toxins, every signal from your surroundings programs gene expression. Your ancestors wrote part of your epigenetic code. Generational patterns are real, inherited through methylation marks passed from grandmother to mother to you. Sleep is when your epigenetic code gets repaired. Nighttime is when DNA damage is fixed, when melatonin activates repair pathways, when your software gets debugged. And stress, as we learned today, touches all of it. Cortisol amplifies every negative signal and blocks every repair mechanism. Stress epigenetics is the common thread running through every episode of this series. But here's the message I want you to take away. You have control. Not partial control, not theoretical control. Real, measurable, documented control over your gene expression. The science is clear. The protocols exist. The results are proven. I've seen it in Maria, in Diane, in hundreds of other clients who were told by their doctors that their problems were genetic, that there was nothing they could do, that they should just take a pill and accept their fate. Every single one of them proved that narrative wrong. Here's what I want you to do this week. One thing. Calculate how many calories you actually eat. Not what you think you eat. Actually track it for 3 days. If it's under 2,000, you are in metabolic stress, and your genes know it. That's your starting point. That's the first domino. Because once you eat enough, everything else starts to fall into place. Your cortisol drops, your temperature rises, your sleep improves, your body stops fighting for survival and starts investing in repair. This 6-week journey showed you the science. It showed you the mechanisms. It showed you the client stories and the protocols. Now it's time to act. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Your genes are listening. They're waiting for the signal that it's safe to heal. If you want to know exactly where your metabolism stands right now, go to biosparkhealth.com and take our free metabolic assessment. It takes 10 minutes and it will tell you more about your health than most doctor visits ever have. If you're ready for the full framework, the Energy Reset Essentials mini course is $39 and it gives you everything you need to start. And if you want someone in your corner guiding you through this process, the Bioenergetic Reset Program and our one-on-one coaching are there for you. Your genes are not your destiny. Your food, your environment, your sleep, and your stress are the 4 inputs to your epigenetic software. And stress touches all of them. You have control. You've always had control. Now you have the science to prove it and the protocol to act on it. Thank you for being part of this series. Thank you for showing up every week. Thank you for trusting me with your health education. The revolution isn't just about information. It's about action. And I believe in you. You came to the right place. Let's talk.